80% of your party says it's center-left.
No, I am center-left.
Farther left is getting more attention. It's getting amplified.
It is. Look,
there's a disconnect.
Look, it's center-left. That's where I am. Where it's not is way left. Now look, but that's what we can find out. That's what this debate is about.
So you just heard Joe Biden not too thrilled about the far left wing of his party. And that's just one of the things he's battling as he tries to win the nomination and the right to take on Donald Trump come next fall. Now, the former vice president, he's also dealing with plunging poll numbers, that in the wake of last week's debates. According to new numbers from CNN, his double-digit lead, it now sits at just 5 points. Biden, he's plunged from 10 points. With Kamala Harris and Liz Warren, they've surged by 9 and 8 points respectively. Now they're within striking distance and in a virtual tie for second place. So here to discuss all things 2020, Paul Steinhauser, a national political reporter based in New Hampshire. He's also a former political editor at CNN. So, Paul, if you're Team Biden, are you worried right now on top of all the numbers I gave? There's that profile in The New Yorker about Hunter Biden and all of his troubles. In addition to that, just the performance that Biden had, a lot of people said he came off really tired and has lost a lot on his fastball. How worried should Team Biden be?
Yeah, that was a big issue, right, going into this. His age, 76 years old. Was he too tired and too old to run for president again? And the debate didn't help when it came to that kind of criticism. The good news for the Biden campaign, that was the first of many, many rounds of debates to go until we actually start voting in Iowa and here in New Hampshire next February. So we've got about 3 weeks until the next round of debates. And I'm hearing from the Biden campaign, there's going to be a lot more preparation this time than for the first debate.
So, Paul, how does he answer the questions of a voting record that spans, 30, 40 years here in terms of, that was a different age, or I defend that vote? How does he reconcile a very different electorate in 2019 than there was, like I said, going back a generation ago?
Yeah, because when Harris kind of slammed him around at the debate, we were talking about an issue from the 1970s. Here it is 2019. There's that perception that maybe Biden is out of step with the Democratic Party of 2019. We also saw criticism of Joe Biden over his support for the 1994 crime bill, which at the time was considered something pretty positive, but nowadays has been very much criticized by a lot of Democrats. The good news, though, is there's a lot in Joe Biden's record that he can point to as well, especially his years with the Obama administration. So there may be some pratfalls, but there's also plenty in his long, long record of public service that he'll be able to point to.
I just interviewed in the last segment one of these Democrats, part of the freshman class, closer to the moderate wing of the party than the far left. And he'll tell you, the folks in the class of Democrats that are in the moderate far outweigh the ultra-progressive wing. Where do the Democrats go here? I saw Mitch McConnell saying that they're going to try and label the entire party as socialist, not just on the presidential front, but obviously so he tries to keep the Senate. It seems that the vocal minority has taken over for the silent majority of the party. How do Democrats navigate that as they create a brand, if you will, before next year?
No, some are pushing back, like the former vice president. You saw that in the interview with CNN. You just played a clip of that, where he's saying that, no, the Democratic Party is not that far to the left. There's a concern among a lot of Democrats, more centrist Democrats, that this is playing right into the Republican playbook, right? That this is going to only help the Republicans next year in the general election by painting the party, the Democrats, as socialists and too far to the left. Some are pushing back, like a Joe Biden. Others, like a John Delaney, a John Hickenlooper, and some of the other more moderates as well, are pushing back against this. Remember, though, the Democratic electorate is a large electorate, and it's probably more moderate than what you're seeing right now, where all the energy is with the base, those that are on social media like Twitter and like Facebook. So when we get to the actual voting in next February, you're going to see a more moderate Democratic electorate. Plus, remember, independents get to vote in 25 primaries, including right here in New Hampshire.
Use New Hampshire as an example. Explain to me how Liz Warren, for example, looked dead and buried before this thing got started here. She was tagged by the president. She had a really rough start, the whole genealogy thing. Somehow, some way, maybe it's because seemingly every day she puts out another policy paper, that seems to be working. Her numbers go up. We obviously saw what happened with Harris's numbers. Attribute that more to the debate, I would grant you, but use New Hampshire kind of as a beta test case, because you're getting to see it up close and personal. Why are they doing so much better than somebody you would think that at least is given the best chance to beat Trump head-to-head, which I'm told is what most Democratic voters consider option priority 1, 2, and 3?
You're absolutely right about that. You will talk to any Democratic primary voter, and they say the most important thing is not policy. It's who can beat Donald Trump. As for Warren, though, she was almost left for dead right back in February and early March after she launched her campaign with all the controversies and the attacks from the Republicans and Donald Trump. But she kept doing what she did best. She kept out there on the campaign trail, numerous visits up here. She's very good at retail politicking. And as you said, she put out one policy position, one progressive policy position after another. It's paid off. The spotlight went away from her. She just put her nose to the ground. And guess what? Look where she is now. She's right there in the top tier. And in some polls, really close to Joe Biden and ahead of Bernie Sanders in some other polls as well. That's troubling for Sanders, who thought he was going to be the king of the progressive wing of the party.
So when we look at the polls, and I know we're only in July, but still, other than the top 3 or 4 names, give me a name that either stood out in the debate stage or that is raising money surprisingly, is going to have a much better ground game, whether it be New Hampshire, Iowa. Who do you think is going to surprise here, or in the next month or so they could get some traction in the polls?
Well, Buttigieg, even though his numbers have been sliding in the polls, he put out a whopper of a number. He's raised more money than any of the other Democrats so far, even more than Joe Biden. He put out a number of $24.8 million he raised the past 3 months.
Well, Paul, you have the best-looking backdrop of any guest that I've had here so far. Paul Steinhauser, great job. I appreciate a few with you. Thank you for sunny New Hampshire.
Thank you.
All right, everybody, when we come back, we're going to take a look at some top stories throughout our viewing area, including news about El Chapo, a ruling just made by a federal judge in New York, Jersey making a move to help out immigrants, and a lot more.